Hello everyone. I thought I would pop on. I haven't really been making videos for the past few weeks because I've been away, but I thought I would pop on and do a quick pen review introduction because I've been using this pen to write a lot, and it's just such a great pen for left-handers, and for people with small hands like mine. So a lot of fountain pens can be really heavy and just too big, too weighty for small hands. And especially hands that tend to be a little bit arthritic and things like that, the heavier pens, even smaller, heavier pens like this one, which I love, the Kaweco brass pen, it's heavy. And so even that can be difficult for smaller or arthritic hands. Also, because of the really fine nib size in this pen, it's great for a left-hander because the ink dries really quickly on the paper. So this pen is a Pilot, and it was the first Pilot. It's actually the only Pilot I have. And I would love to try more Pilots. I just love this pen, and I love the nib on this pen. And this is called an E95S. So the one I have says Elite on it, and this is the Japanese model. And you have to sort of dig around to find them. I found this one on Amazon. I want to say it was like $80, something like that. It has a 14 karat gold nib. Now, there are also E95Ss that you can buy at places like Goulet Pens and Jet Pens and things like that, and they're more like $130. They're exactly the same pen, exactly the same, except for the Japanese version says Elite, and the one that's manufactured for the US just has the letter E. There is another pen that looks very similar to this, that is a Korean knockoff. And there's a lot of differences, especially the way the nib sits into the pen. And that one is a steel nib. It's not a 14 karat gold nib. This is a 14 karat gold Pilot extra fine nib. So I don't know why it's so much less expensive to get the Japanese model. I really don't know. I just know I did, and I love this pen. So it's a really kind of old-fashioned looking pen, like a vintage looking pen. Looks like something from the 1950s or 60s. It also comes in black, just all black with the gold trim, which is also really sharp looking, maybe a little bit more modern looking than this one. But there was just something so nostalgic about this colorway with this like champagne ivory color and then the burgundy red. I don't know. I just really loved it. It feels just sort of vintage and old fashioned, and I really love it. This pen is really small. So when it's capped like this, it's truly a pocket pen, and it's very, very lightweight. Like if I even take just a regular Kaweco, it's just a tiny bit heavier than that. It's a really lightweight pen and not much bigger, right? But when you post it, it is incredibly comfortable to hold. It's a really nice balance sticking out the end of my hand for a small hand. I can't speak to someone with larger hands, but if I post this Kaweco, you can see that it's a little bit longer, as you would expect, because it even closed, it's a little bit longer, right? So where the Kaweco is comfortable for me, and it's very lightweight, and I can write with this one for a long time, it still doesn't have that little bit of weight that I like at the end of a pen. So, for instance, my Sailor Pro Gear pens, when I post them, they are incredibly comfortable for me. And you know what? These are about the same when they're posted. In fact, the Pilot is just a little tiny bit longer, which is amazing, right? This cap is really long and it's just a great design. So when I close the Pro Gear Slim, the Pro Gear Slim is still a bigger pen, right? This is just, it's a really unusual pen, I think. Unique. So what I love about this is how comfortable it is. It is so lightweight in my hand, and yet feels substantial. I feel like I can write with this for a long time. It doesn't feel like a teeny tiny pen. Like, this is a Fisher Space pen. This pen, it's pretty small even when posted, and it's very narrow. And so my hands get super tired holding this pen. It's a heavy pen too. But this one, it just works perfectly for me. So the burgundy color, when I first got this pen, I was putting diamine copper in it, ancient copper, and it was just such a beautiful color with this burgundy. Now this pen takes either Pilot proprietary cartridges, okay? You can't use standard international cartridges in here. Pilot takes its own. Or you can use, I think it's a Con 30, or you'd have to look it up. I think this is a Con 30. It's the twist one. There's also one that you can squeeze, like a squeeze one, but this is the twist one and it fits perfectly. So you have to get the Pilot converter, which was about $5. Now that's one of the things about the pen that's like 130 on jet pens and Goulet pens, is that it comes with a converter and it comes with cartridges and stuff like that. This, in a fancier box. This one came with just a really simple plastic box. I don't care about that, right? So I just bought the converter separately. So it does have the Pilot, the wonderful Pilot 14 karat nib. This is an extra fine. And instead of ancient copper, the last time I filled it, I put the Iroshizuku Yamabudo, which is a really pretty color for this time of year. It's more rosy, plummy red than the ancient copper, but it's really beautiful. So let me just, this is a Tomoe River paper. And I just want to show you how beautifully this writes. So this is the Pilot. Very, very fine, very smooth nib. It's an E95S, or sometimes called the Elite 95S. Okay? It is an extra fine nib. So notice how fine this writes and how small I can write with this, and it's still very clean and crisp. If I go to, let's say, my, well, how about a Pelican? This is a fine nib, Pelican M205. So this is a fine nib on Tomoe River paper. Quite a bit different, right? And to me, a little bit too thick and large for long-term writing. It's fun to jot notes down, but on this paper, it's a really wet pen, and I just can't write as comfortably. I write fairly small. This is a Kaweco extra fine nib. So I can show you, this one also writes really nicely on Tomoe River paper. This is a Kaweco Sport AL in extra fine. But it is not quite as smooth or as fine as the Pilot. I can get much nicer, smaller script with this pen. It writes like a dream. It really does. And I mean, it's not the most beautiful pen I own, but it is a pen that I really enjoy writing with. So if you get into there is some line variation in this pen. It's not a super flexy gold nib, but it has some spring to it. So it's a very smooth writer, but it still makes contact with the paper. It's still, like, I still feel this nib on the paper, which I really love. It's the main reason I love Sailor pens so much. The Sailor pens, let me just show you my Sailor. Actually, I'll use this one. This is a gold Sailor medium fine. This has got a fairly light ink in it right now. So this is a medium fine, and Sailors are notoriously fine, right? And they have a lot of feedback, and you really feel the paper. And I love that. I want to feel the paper. I don't want my pen to just sort of whoosh over the paper. I want to feel that tactile quality when I write. I like feedback. This one has the feedback, but it's just a little bit smoother. But look what a beautiful line. And there is, like, there's some expressiveness in it. Like if I really write quickly, like write my name, just see how I get thicks and thins. And I think that's just so beautiful in handwriting. So if I print, sometimes it comes across even better. The sideways stroke is very fine, and the downstroke, you can definitely get some line variation with this pen. So, and if you're on the tippy toe, you get also a very fine line, and then upside down and backwards, you get an even finer line. It's pretty good that way. Like if you were using this to draw, you could get away with getting some of those really fine lines with the upside down backwards type of thing, or really, really on the tippy toe. But it's got a really fine line regardless. And as you can see, I can get a little bit of a thicker line too. It's not going to go crazy thick, but you can get a little line weight, right, with this nib. There is flex to it. I love how the nib sits into the pen like this. I think it's really cool. So yeah, it's just a super comfortable, lightweight pen that you can write with forever. And I like that it's fairly quick with the drying. That was a pretty thick line, but like this is already dry. I'm not going to write with it like this, but if I'm just writing a page, right, as a left-hander, if I go back here, it's already dry. See that? And then, you know, this is something we have to think about, right? Especially if you're someone who does a lot of writing. If I were, for instance, to use like my Pelican M200, which is a very wet writer, on a paper like this, right? If I go back, it's going to take a long time for this to dry. It just does. So this is something that I think about. This is a pen that I use I love this pen for sketching, and I love it for writing too, but usually just like a quick note to someone or a letter, not for, I mean, when I write, like every morning when I write, I like this morning I had 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, 4 pages that I write. Sometimes a lot more. I do things longhand, so any of my work that I'm doing, like ideations and fleshing out ideas and all of that stuff, I do longhand. So for me to have a pen that I can write whole pages quickly and not worry about my hands smudging everything is a big deal. And you know, right-handed people don't have to worry about that as much. So it is a great pen for left-handers. And just such a nice fine nib. Really, really nice fine nib. This Yamabudo is, it's a very wet ink, so that even is amazing that that it dries so quickly like that with this nib. So you can see when I do my printing, it's a little bit, I mean, you definitely see the ink, right? You see the beautiful shading in the ink, and even when you use sheening inks, you can see that too. So it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those pens that I really, really love. And for a 14 karat gold nib for 80 bucks, it's a pretty good deal, right? It's very lightweight. It's just, I don't know, it's super. And the clip, if I'm taking it with me, the clip works great, right? It's just, it's got a really thin profile, so it doesn't take up a lot of room in anything. I can also just stick it in my handbag or even in my pocket, which I would never do, but you could. So that is the Pilot E95S or Pilot Elite 95S. Super nice, really beautiful pen. And yeah, so I just love to share these things. I hope it's a little bit interesting for you. And I've got a few more coming up. I like to space them out a little bit, but yeah, I've got some fun pens to show you in the upcoming weeks. All right, everybody, thank you so much for your time. And if you like this video, give it a like. I'm still trying the monetizing thing. You know, I don't know. It hasn't been worth it so far. And I may just stop it altogether. Who knows? It's just, you know, I really want to do these and I want to spend time doing it because I enjoy it and I like sharing these things. It would be nice, you know, to earn some revenue from YouTube every now and then, but you know, it just doesn't seem like, even with all of my art videos and everything else, it's just such a funny thing, you know. I get a lot of views on my art videos, and even with that, I might make like $30 a month, if that. So it's not, it's I don't know. So the monetizing things, the ads and all of that just might not be worth it. I might just get rid of it eventually. But anyways, if you like it, please share it and give it a like, because those things do help. All right, everyone, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you again next week with something else fun. Take care.